Hi, I'm Yinka, and this is The Hurt Locker, a podcast where we open a door into men's mental health. Coming up.
In Jamaica, I didn't know what racism was. I'm kind of the one that people go to if they need something. There was a lot of moments in my life when I was very unhappy.
But we don't talk about that.
But I used humor to mask it.
It's about survival.
What happened was...
Good evening, and welcome to the most recent edition, the latest edition of The Hurt Locker, opening the door on men's mental health. And our guest this evening is award-winning comedian Elroy Welsh. Yay! Elroy, welcome.
Hi, thank you very much for having me, man.
You know what? I'm curious whether this is going to get edited or not.
Yeah.
You come back very quickly to agreeing to be on this. Why was that?
To be honest, at the moment, it was something that I want to get into more social media content, doing podcasts and things like that. And when I actually looked at what you guys were talking about, basically it kind of hit home at this time in my life. Yeah. So it was just seemed like right time. And yeah, I was like, I'm definitely up for it.
We are glad to have you here this evening anyway. So thank you.
Thank you.
Like I say, like Tim has said, our producer, it's not scripted or anything. In fact, it was yesterday you said, yeah, you're going to come on board. And I was like, definitely, yeah, let's do this. And hey, we're here now. So yeah. So for the benefit of our listeners, who is Elroy Welsh?
I am Elroy Welsh. Basically, I'm a stand-up comedian. I've been doing stand-up comedy since 2015. I run a comedy night called It's Just Jokes comedy show as well. And just, obviously there's a complex amount of answers to that, like who is Elroy Welsh? Depends who you asked a few years ago. But yeah, I'm a comedian now, so that's what I go by.
You know what?
Yeah.
It's funny you saying it like that because automatically that's made me feel like, wow.
Yeah.
Can I go down here and everything?
Ask you whatever, man.
No, but what I'm going to say is the experiences and the benefits of your past have enabled you to arrive to this point of we are here where we are.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think I would have been in this industry doing as well as I am as well if I didn't have the experiences from the past. Like, about maybe 90% of my comedy actually comes from past experiences, and that helps me actually build up the jokes and things like that. And even the confidence to even get up on stage comes from a lot of things I've done in the past. So,
thank you. So tell me, where did you grow up?
So I was born in Jamaica, and then I came St. Catherine, Spanish Town. Came here when I was about 8, and then just got used to kind of life in England, I guess, as it is. Came to Milton Keynes, lived there for quite a while, went to uni in London, came back to Milton Keynes, and that's kind of been it so far, yeah.
Just as a sidebar, how are the cows in Milton Keynes?
Yeah, I mean, they're not as good as the roundabouts, but yeah, that's all we have to brag about, cows and roundabouts. Yeah.
You come from Spanish Town, you come from Jamaica, you come to England. I'm assuming that was a culture shock.
100%, definitely. I mean, Yinka, I'd only seen white people on movies, really. Like, literally, I was in a whole different lifetime. The technology was way behind as well. So it was just all different. So, the technology we had in Jamaica back then is maybe like 4 or 5 years behind of what most people had. And obviously, like, I came from quite a poor part of Jamaica. So, coming to school here, making friends and not only just like, just different races of people. I was just used to Jamaican people and that was it. And then I had to learn the English accent because I had a proper Jamaican accent when I first came. They couldn't understand me at all. So, that all played a part in my upbringing. Yeah.
Were people fearful of you because you came from Jamaica initially? I know you were only 8 and that. Did people treat you standoffish,
Do you,
or were they more welcoming?
do you know, funny enough, they weren't scared of me, but shortly after, I think they were. It was kind of a thing where I'm very new, so I used to people used to make attempts to bully me all the time. I would say,
Got ya. Got ya.
like straight away. But I'm the type of person, and kind of like being a Jamaican, you don't really take that kind of yeah. So literally, I'll say like as soon as I got into school, I'm fighting. I'm dealing with a lot of different people, and I would say overall I was quite likable on when you're on my good side, but people get on my bad side and we'd end up fighting and things like that. So yeah.
So what I'm assuming then that the first 3 years, you're 8 to 11, you're in primary school, you go to secondary school, and then what? Do you develop a reputation for yourself?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's it. People who knew me, they're like obviously they know I'm not like a horrible person, but I think we used to get into loads of fights and things like that all the time. So off of that, you got a reputation that was kind of built up for you. But it was strange because I felt like I was always in different people's eyes as one thing than something else. Because like in a weird way, like if people remember me from school, they might remember me that person who's just always playing sports or that person who's always fighting. But then at the same time, I'll go to church. So the people from church, that's all they know of me, So it's like so
Yeah.
many.
It's funny because as you were talking then and just unfolding, I was thinking
Mm.
a social chameleon,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
depending on which way you looked,
Where you
people
are.
could interpret and understand the way you are.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
A thing that's just come to mind as well, because I know people from Jamaica and how education is deemed extremely important. How
Mm.
was that for you when you went to secondary school then? Comparing and contrasting
Mm.
Jamaica's approach to education and the British approach to education, and how people take it seriously or not.
Yeah, do you know what? I think when I came here, my education did slip a little bit. It was because it was less pressure, as you say, on the school system. Because I'm in Jamaica and like they could beat you, you
No,
know.
it's strict.
Yeah, so you don't mess. Yeah, you're not gonna mess about. You're gonna
There's no
just
messing about.
listen and do whatever at school. But when I came here, the first thing I said, "What? These teachers can't hit me!" Like, you guys joking? And then as a kid, you start taking liberties, man. That's all I can say. I'm testing now. How far can I go? And they can't beat me. Detention. That to me was nothing.
Of course. You spoke briefly then about sports. What sports were you into?
So at first, I played a lot of football,
Were
and
you
then
any good?
I would say I was quite good, but I was a defender. I didn't really feel like I was getting a lot of action, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And then, like something happened where I learned. I think it was like maybe like year 7. There's like a Milton Keynes team, and they started teaching some of the kids how to do things like play basketball, for example. And like Yinka, I was terrible. Like I was appalling. I
Yeah.
was very, very bad. Like when you're younger, they'll choose teams and have 2 captains, and they'll pick the. I want him on my team. I would be the last pick.
Listen,
No,
I've been there, mister. I'm already crying now for my younger self.
yeah, that was it, man. So I think I was so bad at basketball, something flipped in my head, and like I stopped playing football because I was so bad at basketball. And I said I'm gonna make sure that I get so good at basketball that people want me on the team. And I literally just started like doing everything. Like I'd watch basketball videos, I'd carry a basketball with me to and from school. Before I even turn up to lessons, I'm practicing on my own. And
You were
just
that kid then, yeah.
ever so slowly, I started to get better to the point where I got so good that literally, if I told the team I wasn't coming, it was to a game, I couldn't make it for some reason. It was like I tried to murder them or so. Yeah. So it got to a point where we were so invested. And I got to play like for Milton Keynes and things like that, and yeah, like had some really great experiences there. Definitely.
Go on. I mean, looking back now, was there a fear? Has there been a fear that sometimes, as men of color, that we can get stereotyped to go into certain sports or disciplines, etc.?
I mean, I don't. Do you know what? I don't know if it's a fear. I kind of, but I definitely felt it. I definitely felt it, and it was quite obvious for me and where I was. Remember, like when I was in Jamaica, I didn't know what racism was because that wasn't a thing until I came here.
Now let's start talking.
That didn't exist to me, like because we'd have people who were like much lighter, and again, like if I saw a white person, I wouldn't have thought anything of it really. It's just a different person to me. But when I came to this country is when I kind of started like experiencing those things. And then like when you get comments from work and these type of places, and yeah, that's when you start to understand it really.
Okay, I'm gonna push you.
Yeah.
You say understand it.
Mm.
I'm gonna say, didn't you push back against it when you understood what was going on?
Yeah, of course. Like, I mean, again, that was where a lot of the fighting was coming from, when I was young, literally, some people are more timid, but like I'm the type of person, as soon as you say something, I'm going to call you out on it. And then we might start fighting, we might this and that. And just as I've grown up, obviously, I've dealt with a lot of it, really. It was to the point where there's like, we had a house on the corner of a street, and like people would write like the N word on the
Okay.
side of a wall and things like that. I might come out my house and people are like throwing stuff at you and all kind of things. So it was a weird time. But when I say understand it, I never agree with it, but I kind of understood that certain people have been taught certain things as well. So some people have learned it from their parents and things like that. And you know, they just do it. They think that's what it is.
Okay, just going back, coming to Britain from Jamaica, you didn't understand racism.
Oh,
And I remember being in Nigeria and my nephew was asking me,
yeah.
Uncle Yinka, take me to Liverpool, as it were. And I was saying, do you know what the N word is?
Mm.
And he said, no. And I said, that's the reason why I wouldn't want you to come
Yeah,
to
yeah. I understand.
Liverpool.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering whether or not psychologically that had an impact on you when you, for want of a better phrase, were categorized like that or seen like that by certain elements within the community.
It definitely did. Definitely did, because there was times when, like, throughout my life, you kind of thought like I'm not going to be able to really make anything of myself because you feel like you just held back. There's people who are not necessarily smarter than me, who are not necessarily like nicer people than me or whatever, but they're getting opportunities that I can't get. And I feel like a lot of it was based on my skin color. Just purely whenever I walk into a room, regardless of how nice of a person I am, how much money I've got, or any of these things, I'm still a black man first. So it's like wherever I go, that's always gonna be there. And it's not something I chose. I didn't choose to be black. I didn't, choose this, but yeah.
How do you then cultivate that to work to your advantage once you realize that this is what people see first and foremost?
Well, I think I had to realize that not all people see it.
No.
And there's also there's people out there that are in good positions who will be willing to give you a position, but some of them might be of ethnic background as well. And sometimes, when someone gets to know you, they can actually, they're not as focused on that, you know. So I think the most I did was just try and be myself and not let it try not to let it upset me too much, because there's only so much I can do. I'm 34 years old. I've dealt with it for majority of my life now. I know it's not necessarily gonna change going forward. I'm gonna deal with it again. So, and a lot of it actually, some of it fuels my stand-up. Funnily enough.
100%.
Yeah, yeah.
100%.
Like horrible situations, but I could turn a joke out of it now, and it helps get me money. So
You mentioned going to university. What did you study?
communication studies and media.
Of
So
course
yeah,
you did.
yeah,
Of
yeah.
course you did.
So there was a lot of elements of like public speaking, and also I learned how to do video production, music production, like photography and things like that. And then it was just trying to use those skills to build something when you come out of university.
Tell me, in terms of your art form, in terms of the art forms and the various elements, tell me about photography, because I have a little interest in photography. How did you take to that?
So weirdly enough, when I went into university, I was actually working as a bouncer. So I was working as a bouncer, and this is what I say, it depends who you are. So I've got different reputations. So at that time, I was working as a bouncer, and I was doing a lot of like, obviously working a lot of nightclubs and things like that. And when I came out of university, that's one of the first things I said I'm going to try. So I got a camera, started doing like, I was trying to do like shots for people, like portraits and things like that. But I fell into more nightclub photography as well. So when people had events and stuff on, like I would turn up, take a bunch of photos of the events, they pay me, and then give it to them. They use it for promo. And like it was good. Like for me, photography was mainly painting with light. So most of the time when you had really good lighting, you can a picture can look so much better with just the right lighting. But it can tell so many stories, so many emotions from kind of the right pictures. But you had to play around, like I might take 300 shots and like 20 are going to make it to the cut. So you're constantly taking, readjusting your settings, taking. You narrow down and then if you do want to edit as well, you can edit it, add in color and things like that.
Do you still take photographs now?
No. No.
You know what?
Mm.
That's a shame. I think the nighttime economy is a hidden economy. It
Yeah.
contributes massively to the creative industries, but it's hidden away, as it were, obviously in nighttime. But
yeah, definitely.
there's an underbelly there as well that you would have, working as a bouncer, working as a photographer, you would have come across.
Do you know, for me, I think it was when people started like really getting good cameras on their phones. I think less people were requiring the services. Don't get me wrong, they're still there. But it was a bit harder, more challenging to get work at the time. And I was still kind of exploring like, what do I want to do really? Because it's like I'm testing out these skills. I'm doing like videography projects, doing music projects and things like that, figuring out what I want to do. And that led me to stand up ultimately in a strange way.
Okay, so you graduate.
Mhm.
What next? What happened next for you as a graduate looking for work?
Yeah. So I mean, I kind of fell back into like obviously what I was doing before, like security, and then I started to do like other various jobs. But it soon hit me that like having a good degree is not going to just bring me like amazing work on a plate, if that makes sense. Because it wasn't like specialized in one field. And in the type of field that we do, you have to go out there and actually look for your work yourself. I kind of just like was trying to get better jobs, and I end up actually really in car sales at the time. And it's around that time I was started to do stand up as well. So like my whole week was like doing about 60 hours a week doing car sales. And then I was driving up to London just to get on these little comedy clubs and perform 5 minutes to hone in the skills, really. So, yeah, I had no time for anything else, really.
So directly then,
Mm.
who told you were funny?
Who told me?
Who said, Elroy, have you ever thought being a stand-up comedian?
No one actually said it to me. That's the funny thing. Like, what happened was through that period, I'm obviously looking and I'm going, I've got this degree, and there was something about public speaking that was really calling me. And I really wanted to be a motivational speaker, to be honest. But I didn't feel like I had any motivational stories at the time. I'm 24, like I've come out of uni a few years ago and I haven't really figured things out. And, so I've tried all these things, photography, video, and I'm trying them out. But I'm like, I can't see anything that's going to stick with me for 20 to 30 years. I wanted to find something I could do when I'm 50, 60, and be in that field. So I really started just taking a deep look into my own life. And I realized, actually, one thing I realized was that there was a lot of moments in my life when I was very unhappy. But I used humor to mask it. So what I could do was always deflect how I'm feeling and make a joke and everyone else is laughing and they feel, or make fun out of the way I'm feeling, even if it was really bad. And sometimes it would help a little bit. And then it was a point where I started going through school reports. So some of my school reports from like secondary school. And I'm just like, I think like I picked up the school report and I'm reading all these things these teachers are saying. And one common theme kept hitting was like, Elroy's a smart guy, but sometimes he's not focused. But he's very funny. Or he makes people laugh and I'm going, me, I didn't realize that. And that's kind of when I started going, what if I could do stand-up? So I started asking some of my friends, who knew me, like friends that I trusted. And I'm like, listen, you guys know me, the real me. Like, do you think I could do this? And a lot of them were like, yeah, you should try it. So literally did that. I got onto a show, I tried it out. And that first show, as nerve-wracking as it was, I was panicking for like 2 weeks before. Just think like, I'm gonna lose all the words, my mouth's gonna dry up, everything bad that can possibly happen will happen. But I got some laughs. And when I got those laughs, it was like, you're not great at this, but you can obviously do it because this is your first time. So that led me to then start like looking into it more and doing it. And, along the way, just fell in love with stand-up. And, I'm able to use all the skills that I have in the background for that. So it's quite nice.
You mentioned some difficult times, hard times.
Yeah. I don't know where to start.
Anywhere where it feels safe for you.
Yeah, so I mean, I think a lot of things just happened over the years. So there's times when I've had like maybe family members who have passed away, and I'm the oldest of like 5 children. So I'm kind of the one that people go to if they need something. And I had an uncle that he was like my big brother in a way. He passed away. And I remember that hit me really hard and I got depressed.
How old were you?
24 at the time. So that hit me quite hard. And basically I just started stand-up kind of like around that time. So people kind of getting to know like, oh, he's actually quite funny and this and that. But then I literally got so depressed that I didn't want to leave the house. So friends would have to literally come to the house and like beg me to come to a meal or something like that. And I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to leave the house. I'm just there kind of wallowing in this and that. So yeah, I remember that's one of the times I felt like quite a strong depression, I would say. And then, other things, life things that happen sometimes, just being broke to the point where I'm literally going like, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills tomorrow. Like, I literally don't know where I'm going to get this money from. And that's kind of messing with you. And yeah, there's been a lot of things have happened, a lot of setbacks, a lot of things. Yeah.
You've used humor. I get a sense of as a protective armor for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you find it, because it took me till, on a personal level, it took me till later life to be able to even laugh at myself, but it feels you were able to do that at a young age.
Yeah, I think I was always like that. Like, and the thing is, I used to make a lot of jokes all the time. It was just something I did so naturally, all the time. If anything, now I would say I'm actually less funny in person now than I was then, because it was like I had so many issues that I would just have to laugh about them sometimes to get me through it or make a joke about it. Whereas now it's like I more address the issues. I let myself feel certain emotions and things like that. Whereas yeah, at that time I was just using humor, but also humor was like it was a way to make friends. There was a lot of benefits to it, you know. And I think naturally I was just a bit of an entertainer. So sometimes when I decide to turn it on, I turn it on, and then and that's it. Like, you know, speaking to women, you use humor like yeah, it works. It works. You know, to make friends just in general, to make a connection with someone, you know.
You're the eldest of 5.
Hmm.
How many brothers? How many sisters?
2 of each. So 2
2
brothers.
of each.
Yeah.
What responsibilities then growing up did you have to undertake? Were
Yeah.
both parents there at home?
Yeah, but I think what it was is it was quite hard because what I always say is I feel like they had the practice run with me. So, you know, you're the first child. And when I look back on it, you know, there's a lot of stuff that was going on at home as well. Me and my dad were constantly warring. And, you know, it's like they they've never raised a child before. So I'm the
Yeah.
first one. So of course they're gonna make some mistakes and do things along the way that, you know, when you look back at it, you go, oh, maybe we shouldn't have done this or whatever. But in terms of responsibilities, because the next child after me was like maybe like 6 years, the next one after that was maybe like another 5 years. Like by the time I got quite a lot of responsibility. So there was times when my mum was working like a night shift and my dad was working like a day shift. So there's a crossover period where I need to be in the house and, you know, feed the kids and get them
So
dressed and do all these kind of things. So, you know, like I'm doing a lot of things kind of before your time. So yeah, there was a lot of responsibility put on me.
that's an interesting phrase,
Mm.
before your time, etc. I dare say then that you grew up very quickly.
Oh yeah, very, very. And again, I also was very confident. So, you know, teenagers think they know everything. So, you know,
Yeah.
I think I'm like 25, 30. So, you know, the things that we did, and you feel like you've grown up quickly and definitely try to push it, I guess.
Just touching on, sadly, the passing of your uncle, and you spoke about becoming quite reclusive, staying at home, etc. Did you know at the time that you were grieving? I know you understood you were mourning, etc. It hit you in a big way.
Yeah, definitely, it definitely did. And yeah, I definitely knew it because I saw him the day. I think it was the day he passed away as well. I remember seeing him, and it was really hard thing to witness because he was like he was one of the funniest people I knew. So he was using humor for everything and making people laugh all the time. And yeah, man, he was a very interesting character.
Okay.
Kind of his passing, especially like seeing what had happened, it just stuck with you. It's one of those images you'll never forget. So I think he was ill, and I saw him, and it was to the point where someone that used to see as fit and healthy and walking around, and he wasn't old either. That's the thing. Kind of lost all his muscle mass, shriveled down to just almost bone, and you knew that he was passing away. And yeah, it was a tough thing to witness and see and experience.
How do you reconcile your own mortality when you see somebody whom you've looked up to, you've respected, you've loved
Mm,
pass away then?
I still don't know. I don't know. It's something that stuck with me, but I think one of the things that he taught me was he had issues going on that I didn't know about for years. And when I found out after his passing, I was like, how the hell could this man still bring so much joy to people when he was suffering so much? And but then I thought about it the other day, like the other way. Would I have rathered him like pass away and he was miserable his whole life and this and that? Like he left very good memories and really cheered us up and things like that. So it's one of those things where I just know that I just have to make the most of life, I guess, and do the best you can do while you're here. But no one knows what's promised for tomorrow. Like, yeah, I had quite a few experiences with people passing away and stuff. It's a tough one.
I suppose for me, and I want to be sensitive here, I suppose for me that within our communities, we experience people passing away from a young age.
Yeah.
I think for me, what I say, therefore the grace of God, go I, as it
Mm,
were, when I see people who have passed away suddenly or quickly and all of that.
yeah, yeah.
And I wonder, I'm not a religious person, but how important has your faith been?
It's got me through a lot. Definitely got me through a lot. Because I'd say I'm not gonna profess to be like the best Christian or anything like that, because how I see it is I didn't choose to be a Christian. My parents were already Christians and I was born into it. So naturally, you kind of do what your parents do. But then there was a period of time where I just walked away from it completely and, lived life myself and done whatever, on my own terms. And then now I've come back and just, again, it's not like I try and shove it down people's throats, but, I do believe in God and I do believe without that, I don't know where I'd be. But I've witnessed so many things happened that, yeah, it's hard to not believe in something else.
Okay, so reading between the lines, I get a sense that you had your own walk in the wilderness, as it were.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah, definitely. Well, I always describe myself as the type of person that can be kind of with anyone, so be around anyone and stuff like that. So there was a period of my life where I was with people that were lovely people, like fantastic people, wouldn't hurt a fly, wouldn't do anything wrong, very like amazing people. And then the next day I could be with a bunch of criminals who were probably like you think of the worst type of people, and how could they do this? And I got on with all of them, and they'd show me what their life is like and show me things, and like I was able to kind of be
A social chameleon.
yeah. But the thing was, it didn't even feel like being a chameleon, because I'd still be myself, but they accepted me for who I was. And I don't know if it's because I was unapologetically myself, they would accept me for how I was. And again, like I said, humor brings people together. No matter who you are, like you could be with some of the most dangerous people, but if you feel like that person and that person makes you laugh and doesn't do anything bad to you, he's in your good books. Yeah,
Absolutely. I've got to ask, have you ever been close to death?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely I had some experiences, and yeah, like it comes so quickly, and it's happened, and I just used to pray about it after and just be thankful. To be honest, I think a lot of times, even while working security, I'd work in some really bad places, and things happen that literally a split second too late could have died, but you luckily it didn't, kind of thing. Yeah.
There's going to be times for me to talk about stuff, but
Mm.
how do you balance that? How do you reconcile that? Because this, for a lot of people, for most people, it's an alien world.
Yeah,
But for
definitely.
you, and I can relate to,
Mm.
it's about survival.
I mean, again, like obviously I don't do it now. When I look back at it, I feel like you were crazy. Because sometimes I'm getting ready to go to work and I'm putting on a bulletproof and a stab proof vest because I don't know if someone's gonna come and try and stab me tonight or whatever. And I've got to be that person that no matter who's in front of me, I've got to actively believe that I can defend myself and
100%.
maybe protect others and all this kind of stuff. So I really put it down to I used to pray a lot before I went anywhere. Thankfully, I was never seriously injured or anything like that. No matter how many fights or how many crazy situations or people pulling out knives and all these kind of things. Sometimes people try and follow you home. There's times when, the next day I'd be out with my girlfriend having a meal and I'm in a restaurant looking at a guy I've just had a fight with yesterday. Like I'm kind of just sitting here like, and I'm like, listen, babe, if I tell you to run, I said, what are you talking about? Like, just run, and I'm gonna start fighting. Like, I don't know if they're holding this grudge from last night. So yeah, it was a different world altogether, man. Like, I'll tell you a weird story that I had, and this is what I mean. Like, I was able to like hang around with a lot of different people. I remember there was one club night that came on, and a lot of these club nights, when they had like, certain grime artists, there were a lot of the London guys come down, and these guys, like, they're in a new city now, so they act like I'm the big guy around here and all this stuff. So there's so many fights and these things happening. And I remember same night, one of my friends came in the club, and it was him and a few other guys that I knew. And I can't even call him a close friend, but I'd say like an associate in the crime world. That's the most elegant way I can put it.
Understood.
I remember kind of him saying to me, "Yo, tonight is rough, And I'm like, "Yeah, this is what I go through sometimes when I'm working." And he said, "You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna stand right next to you all night." And he said, "Don't worry, I've got my gun on me. So if anything happens, it's cool." And I was like, you know what? And I felt nice that night. And he stood with me, and you know what I mean? It's like, so I had people watching me as a bouncer just in case anything happens. And again, there's so many crazy things about that story that shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't
have. This is the reality.
Yeah, but it was one of those things where he was like, "Yo, it's that crazy tonight. I don't even want to leave you here." So yeah, strange, man.
Thank you for sharing that. If I said to you, we as black men don't talk about our emotions and how we're feeling, how would you respond to that?
I would say I was exactly the same until a few years ago. And I still struggle with it, but now I try to talk a little bit more.
Okay, a little bit more. Okay, I'm gonna push you.
Yeah, I try to talk a bit more. It's still hard. This is because you're programmed and been doing something for years. Habit.
What is it about us not talking about our emotions? Is it perceived as a weakness?
I think so. I think a lot of the time you don't want someone to look at you in a different way and think he's softer, or like you sometimes not showing your hand is easier to keep up. Maybe if there's a perception, there's an image of you, it's easier to not talk about the things that are going on.
But then, isn't there a danger that we perpetuate a stereotype that all men of color, all black men are strong, that they're hard, they're solid, and there's times when we do struggle.
Yeah, definitely. And this what I mean. Like, so that's why I say I used to be like that, but I've had a few issues or I've had friends really like kind of break down and things like that. And we've kind of said to each other, you know what, if we're going through something, let's actually try and talk to each other. So sometimes we will pick up the phone and talk about things that are, upsetting us or making us emotional or this or that. But if years ago, there was no way we're talking about anything to do with that, which is quite sad, really.
Have you yourself ever lost a friend to suicide?
Not a close friend, but someone I worked with. And it was a strange one because it was someone that I worked with. So, you're seeing this person almost every day. We got on very well. He was quite a funny person. I used to make him laugh. You have your own personal jokes with this certain person, and we can talk and do all these things. And then suddenly one day, well, it wasn't one day. There was a period where we could see that something had affected him, and it was actually his friend committed suicide. So his best friend committed suicide. That really affected him, and then eventually came back to work, and you could just tell he wasn't
the same person.
And then, there's one day we came into work and they just had to sit us down and let us know, like, listen, yeah, he's passed away last night. And yeah, that hit us quite hard as well.
How was that for you? I know what you said that hit you hard, but what did it tell you?
Well, first of all, it made me do my first therapy session, my first and second therapy session I've ever done. Not because of me. Lovely, like, it was work actually arranged therapy and said whenever we return to work, we're gonna have some therapists there. If you guys want to talk about what's up, so we'd go and talk and explore it and stuff. I don't know. It did feel a bit. It was just strange to think that, like, as much as someone's struggling, sometimes you don't know how bad, and you always wish you could have done more, do something, and I think even like I'd never met his parents until the funeral, and his parents were telling me how much he used to like my comedy and show them stuff and things like that, and I was like, I didn't even know, because I just know him as, like, when I go to work and we made a jokes of that. I don't even think of the stuff I'm putting online that maybe he's seeing it, or maybe he's showing in this and that, or his parents know of me or whatever. So yeah, it is. I don't know. It was a strange one.
You're still processing that, aren't you?
Yeah, because there was a lot. It wasn't just the suicide. It was the aftermath of it as well, because he was dating someone that I was quite close to at the time as well, and then seeing her go into depression because she was the one who found him again, and then trying to help her through that, because there's days when she doesn't even want to shower. She's like, I'm not leaving the house. I'm just crying. Like, what I mean? We try and bring her food, just try and get her to eat, have a shower, this and that, so it really made me see, like, when things like that, if you do something like that as well, even though you're suffering, it's going to cause other people to suffer as well.
Did you know that when somebody is bereaved by suicide, either a friend or a loved one, then they are 80 to 300% more likely than the general population to equally end their own life?
I didn't, but that makes sense now. Hearing that makes sense, yeah.
You mentioned work when your friend passed, when your colleague passed. That work said that therapy was available for you.
Yeah.
What was your gut reaction, if you can think about it?
I didn't know if I was going to do it, because that's one of those things where I was like, I'd never ever intended or thought I'd do it, but because it was available, eventually I just said, you know what, let me go and see what this is like, and let me talk, and because there was still a lot of stuff we were all processing at the time. So initially I didn't know if I was going to do it at all, even though it was available, even though I didn't have to pay, even though it's literally I could stop work at any moment. This is kind of what they said. Come off the shop floor. I was working in retail. Come off the shop floor. You can just knock on her office if she hasn't got anyone. Sit down, take an hour or whatever you need. Talk to this woman.
How did you find it? How was it walking through the door that first time?
Walking through the door is not bad, because I think I'm the type of person, and not even I know I am. I speak to so many people on a daily basis. Like, I go to so many different parts of the country at the moment, and speak to all kind of people. So I might walk into a room and I can't tell you the amount of times I walk into a place and I'm the only black guy there, and I know there's going to be some black joke, or it could be, and it's sometimes a town that looks like they have never even seen black people before, and it's so funny how after I might do stand up, like, then I'm talking to all of these people, or they want to buy me drinks because they love what you do, but I feel like I can kind of talk to anyone. So walking through the doors is okay. But in the back of my head, it's like I'm thinking I don't want to dive into my own personal problems. All I want to do is just talk about them. Like, so I'm kind of guarded in my head. I can talk, but I can see what's really underneath, But yeah, she did a great job. Definitely.
Did you go back a couple of times, or
done it a couple of times? And yeah, it was quite insightful.
Would you go back in the future?
Yes, yeah. I'm actually I'm starting therapy again, actually. So I had a session last week, and then I'm going to be having a few more throughout the upcoming weeks as well.
You know what? That's music to my ears.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a quick lowdown on some stuff that's happened recently. So, see, when you guys contacted me at the time, I've basically got a close family member who had recently started displaying some some kind of symptoms of mental health, and it really got us all thinking, because it got to the point where he got sectioned in a mental institute. So it's like I might go and visit him at the institute sometimes and things like that. And then he got released and then he got sectioned again. And there's so much in between that for you to get sectioned and arrested by the police and, all the type of stuff he was saying and acting out and doing, that it really made us start going, you need to start really, really paying attention to your mental health. Because 1 minute you can think someone's completely fine and something happens and it underlying issues, kind of just show themselves. So really, like, a lot of my family started really like diving into this more and like trying to say like, let's check on each other more, and like, if we need to go therapy, guys, try and go to therapy, you know what I mean?
You know what? And that's why we're doing this type of
Yeah.
podcast as well. And thank you for sharing. I might add as well, Black and brown people in the UK are 6 to 8 times more likely than the general population to be institutionalized because of our mental health.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about that. We don't talk about the pressures that society puts on our shoulders that we have to endure as well. And no disregard to yourself, smile or just brush it off or just make a joke about it.
Yeah, definitely.
So Elroy, I'm glad to hear that you're looking out for you.
Yeah, you have to, because like I said, I came so close with it recently. So like I said, at the time when you guys contacted me, I was like, how can I say no? Because this is something that's going on even in my family presently. Before this, I'd had a few friends who have been sectioned.
Okay.
So I've had friends that have been sectioned. I've had friends that I've seen, walk in the streets, and these are like some of the most intelligent people I've ever seen in my life. But yet they're walking the streets, and it looks like they're talking to someone who's not there, and doing all these kind of things. And then they eventually get sectioned, and some of them might have been arrested. And it's not like the friends that I knew who got arrested for crimes that they were committing. It was like,
Absolutely. But they're treated as criminals.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been tough, and then obviously then seeing when that happens in your family as well, again, it shakes you up. So I just realize how, as humans, we really have to look after the mental health.
Elroy, sorry for jumping in, but because of the experiences of your relative being sectioned, has that opened up a conversation for you as a family to talk more about mental health?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Yeah. Now, because it happened so suddenly, it's like before November, we would not be having that conversation. So it's like, maybe in the back of my head, I'll be like, yeah, I've been to therapy a couple of times, maybe one day. But like, when something like this happens, and then you go, wow, like, it can change like that, like, so quickly. And it can escalate without anyone knowing, because it's stuff that's been pent up. And, we spoke to him, he said, yeah, I've been feeling this way for a long time, and and it's like, why didn't you say something? But it's easy for me to ask, why didn't you say something? But I'm saying,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that goes back to within our communities about stereotypes about Black people don't speak up, Black people keep stum and say everything's fine, etc. But we're suffering the same as everybody else. But there seems to be like a double indemnity, a double jeopardy about when Black people talk about their own mental health. It's the treatment that they receive at the front line, which seems to be in a stark contrast to the rest of the general population. And that's why, in my opinion, there's a hesitancy and apprehension about putting one's hand up and saying, I need some help here.
Yeah, definitely.
So you got me thinking. You got me thinking about a few things. I'm going to mention the word.
Mm.
I'm going to mention one word. I'm going to ask you how you may have interpreted this word 10 years ago, as opposed to how you interpret this word now. And the
Yeah.
word that I'm going to ask you is vulnerability. What does it mean to you?
I mean, 10 years ago, that just meant weakness. that meant something that if I share those vulnerabilities with anybody else, they can use that against me to exploit me or do something or hurt me. Versus now, I think now I feel like an old man. I know I'm 34, but I feel like my whole perception has changed where, like I actually put myself in very vulnerable situations all the time. And like I think I get quite a good outcome out of it. And I've kind of let go of, trying to control everything. There's only so much,
Okay. How does that feel?
yeah, there's only so much you can. It's hard because it is hard to let go of. But I think, given the type of things that I do, I had to make it a part of it. Like I had to, and it just creeps into my life. And I realize, there's a lot of things that outside of my control. There are always going to be times when I'm going to be vulnerable, and sometimes, strangely enough, what you think might happen doesn't necessarily happen. So I feel like if I share these vulnerabilities, these are going to use it against. But sometimes it helps you connect with people because then they go, you know what, and then they tell you their story, and you go, oh, you. I never knew you were here with this. I thought you were the big, strong, bad man, and this and that. Yeah. So it's very interesting, but yeah, complete different. Like 10 years ago, no way am I sharing anything that. Yeah.
If you could offer advice to your 8-year-old self when
Mm.
they first set foot on Albion, on England, and entered that school classroom for the
Oh,
first time, what would it be?
I'm trying to think of like what I was thinking at the time. Do you know I was very angry? I would say, yeah, you gotta get rid of that as quick as possible. The anger doesn't build up anything good, is what I would say. Because even when things were happening to me that, like I said, this first time experiencing racism and things like this, it makes you angry. And I was also angry at my parents and the situation because I'd never really lived with my dad before. So when I was very young, but then he came over to England and he started studying, like doing his PhD and all these kind of things over here. And then he was the one who paved the way for us to come over. But when I came over, I genuinely believed I was going back to Jamaica because I'd come for holiday before. This is the second time I'd come over. So I'm like, yo, I'm going back to my friends, back to my Jamaican life, I'm going to eat jerk chicken and them kind of things, run on the beach but then I found out I'm staying here. So now I got to get accustomed to this cold place. I'm angry it's cold. Just because it's cold, I'm angry. The people talk different to me. They have different things like, and then I realized how poor we were. Because in Jamaica, like, yeah, I was poor, but
Everybody's poor.
now I'm here and I've got the shittest trainers and everyone's got the best trainers and they've got these nice things and their parents pick them up in big nice cars, and so it's like, and then at the same time then I'm getting the racism because I'm black, and so there's just so many things back and forth. I was just very angry, but if I could speak to my 8-year-old self, I'd say like, yeah, the anger's not going to get you anywhere. It just leaves you in more destructive places if yeah, I'm honest. So it's just kind of getting rid of that.
And it feels, when we were speaking earlier on, there was a recognition and an acknowledgement that you got rid of that quite early in your late teens, early 20s, because
Yeah,
you saw that it was a potential obstacle.
I said I'm gonna end up in prison. I'm gonna end up dead or in prison. And funny enough, like one of the things that happened was when I became a bouncer, that's when I became very like more calm. And especially when I left security, that's when like I was even more calm because now I'm not in a lot of fights all the time anymore. But prior to becoming a bouncer, I had to, like, I took the security test and all these things, but I don't think they taught you proper self-defense. They taught you some little things here and there. I started going to a lot of mixed martial arts. So I started doing cage fighting. I'm like a sparring partner for these people who are cage fighting. And they were some of the most dangerous people I've ever met. But they were lovely people. Like, they're not going to take the martial arts that they learn and just bring it on the street and attack someone.
Not at all.
They will show you how fragile the human body is. And it really calmed me down, because one thing I think I learned, that I could protect myself a lot better once I learned these things. So then I was less fearful of whatever someone might physically do to me. Then I'm saying, you know what, all the words and all these things you're calling me, they start to slide off now, because, you know what I mean, you're trying to provoke me, but I'm just going to be calm. I'm not going to get into it. And don't get me wrong, sometimes, every once in a while, you're going to slip up and fall back into bad habits, but it wasn't getting me anywhere. And then I started getting, for work, ended up in court a lot and stuff like that. And, I've never been charged for anything, because they've always dropped the charges. But it kind of felt like, for the job that I'm doing, it's not worth it. When people are coming, they're drunk, they're attacking you, you end up fighting. Now I'm in court. Now I'm wasting all this time. And, I could have actually one day lost it and took it further than that, killed a person or whatever, because I genuinely know people who have killed people as well.
Yes.
And they're lovely people. They didn't mean to do it, but one bad night, they were angry. They got into a fight. They punched someone. He hit his head on the floor. Boom. The best fighting I've ever done, even when I've competed or anything like that, I was so calm and peaceful while fighting, because you can make better decisions. When you're angry and you do some stuff, and that's when you're probably going to get knocked out or you lose a fight or whatever. So he was like, where's the place for this anger? Where's it going to go? And yeah, I'm glad that I've got to the point now where, even if there's something I'm angry about, I can turn that into a joke and use it on stand-up and make people laugh. I was at a show, when is it? It was Easter, the Sunday. And I done some joke. And there's about maybe 60 people in this room, but a very close audience, small, close audience. And this woman was laughing so hard that she started crying. Like, she's laughing and wiping tears. And I was saying to the promoter, you know what, don't even pay me for tonight. I said, the fact that I made this woman laugh so much as she's crying and these are from talking about things that I'm angry about or whatever, is such a better way than lashing out and saying, oh, I'm going to find this man and I'm going to do this and do that. So, yeah.
Tell me about love.
Oh, boy. No, what do you want to know about love? Love is a good thing.
Go wherever you want. What does love mean within a family setting as opposed to your own relationship setting?
That's another one that's quite hard. But I think it's something that I'm still processing to this day. I've always tried to make sure at least the people that I love are aware, but it's difficult, man. Very difficult, because sometimes you do things and people think you don't care about them, or you make mistakes and people don't think you don't care about them. But
did you feel love growing up?
To a certain degree, but there was times when I really didn't as well. And I think, again, that would be part of the time when you built up the anger and stuff like that. But I think from outside places, from my family and from my siblings as well, I definitely felt that. But I came to a point where I realized, like you said, how Black men don't necessarily speak about their feelings. I feel like my dad was not one of those people to do that. And even my mum, again, never really spoke about feelings and being loved and stuff like that. And so there's always an element you never knew where you stood. When I say it sounds bad, but I don't think
it doesn't. No, listen, it doesn't sound bad. In all the time that my dad was alive, and he passed years ago.
Yeah.
Not once did he ever say to me that he loved me.
Yeah, you see what I mean? Yeah. So that, like, yeah, it's yeah. Okay, you understand. And there's even times for me where it's like, I used to see people how they interact with their parents, because I had a lot of friends. So I see them talking to their parents, and I'm going, boy, I wish I could talk to my parents, like just have a normal conversation, or like even to this day, it feels very awkward if I hug my mum, which I used to hate that, because when I'm growing up and I'm young and you're chasing girls, I meet a girl and I'm like, oh, come here, baby, and you're hugging up. My own mum, it feels awkward because that's not a thing that we were doing in our household. So yeah, and one of the things which to this day has kind of really shown me a big contrast is, like, at the moment I've got a fiance, and her family are so close and so connected. So sometimes when I go to their house and I see how they are with each other, like I'm like, that's how I know it should be. And I think she's been raised in such a good home, and she teaches me a lot about love and things like that. But I come from a different side of things.
How did that feel then? She's your fiance now, and I'm not necessarily talking about her, but previous relationships. How then did you learn how to navigate those waters of love when somebody's showing you affection?
It was difficult. It was difficult because even with her, like, I used to push everyone away. And I used to kind of just think I can do it on my own. I don't need people, push everyone away. So it's been rocky, but I think with us, we were genuinely friends for a long time. And then we just ended up being together. But with like previous relationships or all other relationships I've ever had, you could, I was learning everything from every different one. Yeah, that's all I could say. Like, one of the things I hated was there was a period where I was single and I was doing stand up, and I was traveling across the world. I was traveling to different places of the world doing stand up. I was traveling just for holidays, and I kept meeting so many different women. But sometimes you could tell, like, the way I met them, I'm like, this ain't gonna work out, because instantly I can see that she's seeing an image of me that I'm like, I can't uphold that image for that's because that's not me. You're not seeing me at my worst. You're not seeing me the times when I didn't have no money and this and that. You're seeing me at, like, I'm on top of my game today. I've got this, I've got that. I'm mentally more stable at the moment. Like, there's so much. Yeah, it is a complicated one.
I'm not going to ask you who influences you, but who do you admire as a comedian then?
There's too many. My two favorite comedians are Dave Chappelle and Patrice O'Neill.
Okay, Dave Chappelle I've seen, and I love Dave Chappelle. I think he's a gamer, but Patrice O'Neill, not come across yet.
Patrice O'Neill, you wouldn't come across him unless you kind of watched comedy at a certain time, or unless someone tells you about him and you look him up, because he's passed away. So he passed away maybe 2011, I think, around that time. I'm not 100% sure, but he was. If you ever want to watch stand up, I would say watch something called Patrice O'Neill Elephant in the Room. Okay. And it was just one of these pieces of stand up that I watched, and I said, wow, he's doing it so effortlessly. And it's like you can almost see that he's working out what he's doing while he's doing it. But it's good. And it's like, it's very good. And then it really, like, pulls you across the line where you shouldn't go. But he's just that good, and he's so unapologetic about it, and he can explain his topic so well. Yeah, it was lovely, and that's someone I really. But then there's a lot of comedians like that you won't necessarily know of that I do shows with locally, and all these kind of things that they inspire me. I'll be here mentioning so many people, man.
Elroy, we're nearly finished for this evening. Yeah. You've been excellent.
Oh, thank you.
Seriously, you've been excellent. At this point, you're supposed to say, and so have you, Yinka, but you didn't. Anyway, I'll let you go on that one.
And I was going to say Tim as well. Just, you didn't let me get to it.
Just a couple of things. Who's the most important person in your life?
It's me. It sounds crazy, but me.
It's not crazy. That's a tip. Tim, what are we on now? That's 3 out of 12 or 13 who've said myself. So
yeah, I mean, but the thing is, because I can affect the people around me.
Go on.
If I I can either, do things that are really good for them or do things that are really bad for them. And, they're in close contact with me, things are always going to happen. But like, I've got to look after myself. And like I said, keep the mental health thing, man. I've got to keep myself sane enough while I'm doing these things for it to work and to be a blessing onto people rather than a hindrance. I don't want to pass away and they say, oh, this guy was a troublemaker. He was this. He never gave back. He never helped us in any time. I don't have no fond memories of him and all these kind of things. Yeah.
Elroy, you've been a blast.
So have you.
You got that quick. He's learning, Tim. He's learning.
Tim, definitely.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me, man. It's been very interesting, and I appreciate you having me on here as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Hurt Locker. Please give us a rating or share with another listener. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Hurt Locker Pod.